Okay, so I just found out that Ken was at Shea Stadium when the Beatles played there.
So it's like 1965, and a group of us are, we're in high school, and we're sitting on the milk cartons outside of Anton's grocery store in North Bergen, sitting there like the magpies saying, what do you want to do tonight? I don't know. What do you want to do tonight? I don't know. What do you want to do tonight? And then Joe Mangilia says, hey, the Beatles are playing at Shea Stadium tonight. So we all piled into George Coors.
And it's not sold out at this point? I mean, you can't...
We didn't have tickets. We just were going. So we all piled into George Coors 55 Chevy. And when we opened up the back door, I said, George, there's no back seat here. Oh yeah, we threw the back seat out last week. We stole a do not enter sign from over in Greenwich Village, and the big concrete base wouldn't fit. So we threw the seat out, and so we took some of the milk boxes from Anton's, put them in the back seat of the car, and that's what we sat in on the way over to Shea Stadium. So we just
nice and safe.
Stood outside the gates. The gates were just bars, and they were huge gates, and you could see and hear the Beatles just as good as if you had a ticket. But the distracting and disturbing thing was that the girls were all just continually screaming as why? It wasn't even like a certain crescendo. There were just one continual big scream continually, and all the guys were just like standing like, what's wrong with you? You afflicted by some terrible nervous disease. You're just continually screaming. So that's how we got to see the Beatles. We saw and heard them just as good as anybody else did. And simply by happenstance, when they left the stage, they got into a Brinks armored truck to leave the stadium, and they drove right out the gate that we were standing at.
Oh my God!
The little breathing portals that out of the Brinks truck, you could see that just their fingers were waving.
Oh my God!
To everybody on the way by.
So wait a minute. So you show up at Shea Stadium just on a whim, and there were still tickets for sale, or did you scalp?
We stood outside. Like I said, there were gates. There were huge gates.
So you were watching from the gates.
And we were just standing there outside the gates.
Oh, I see.
We were at the same level as the stage.
And you could see them?
And
wow.
hear them just as if you had bought tickets in the best seats, and just by happenstance they came right past us.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Way out, so
wow.
That was the Beatles experience. And then there was Fillmore East, which was on 2nd Street down in Greenwich Village. $6 was the best seat in the house. It was a real small venue, but got to see Jimi Hendrix there.
You saw Jimi Hendrix?
Jimi Hendrix. Got to see him at the beginning.
Oh my God!
I watched him, and just like a human being's hands can't do what his hands are doing.
Oh my God!
And sadly, got to see him at the end after his drug usage, where he literally would collapse on stage from the drug use. So I got to see him at the beginning, and very sadly at the end, as to what drugs do to you. The guy went from being a complete genius to not being able to stand on his own on the
Oh my
stage.
God! Oh my God!
We got to see Janis Joplin. The Who was in there somewhere, and there were just great venues. Over on the west side, there was the Purple Onion and the Back Fence. In the 66, 67 era, Bruce Springsteen and Billy Joel and everybody who was nobody then, you got to watch them over on the west side of Greenwich Village.
Wow! And when you saw people like Bruce Springsteen, did you say this guy's going places? I mean, this is the guy.
He was a great rock and roll guy. You know, it was up until then it was just the Rolling Stones, but. We used to always go down the Jersey Shore, and the Stone Pony was another place we used to go to. And Springsteen used to play there before he was anyone, along with Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes used to play there. They were the house band in 1974.
I remember those guys, yeah.
Yep. And they were the house band at the Stone Pony in Asbury Park, New Jersey in 1974.
Wow.
It had fantastic exposure. There was the Bob Zimmerman story. I think that was like 1959.
Bob Zimmerman. Tell the Bob Zimmerman.
We used to see him. We used to go down to the village because we could drink in New York City. The drinking age was 18 and we were 15, so that was close enough. And there was a pizza place on the corner of 2nd Avenue and 8th Street by St. Mark's Place, and we used to get pizza there. And right next to it, there was a used clothing place, and there were steps going up to it. And the name of the clothing place was Limbo, and it got most of its clothes from unclaimed bodies in the city morgue. Hence the name Limbo. They were between the living and the dead. And on the steps of that place, there was a guy, Bob Zimmerman, who used to sit and play guitar and had his hat there and play for quarters in the hat. And he later changed his name to Bob Dylan. So,
Unbelievable.
that was a long time ago and far, far away, but some things are deeper than
Was he
time and distance.
was he playing his own songs, or
Yeah,
was
he did all of his own songs, and you could hear different songs that he was trying out, different phraseologies that he hadn't perfected yet.
So
Tangled Up in Blue.
So when you'd see him, you stopped and you listened. It wasn't a matter of, oh, it's crazy Zimmerman.
No, we were standing there eating pizza on the corner pizza place, and Limbo was right next to it. So every week we'd stop and get great Sicilian pizza at this one place on the corner of 2nd and 8th, which was right around the corner from McSorley's on 6th Street. And we would stand there and eat our pizza and have a Coke and listen to Bobby play there. It became like a habit.
Did you get to know him? I mean, were you there enough?
He knew.
He was just
recognized you, and he was just playing for. A quarter was a lot more money back in the late 50s and early 60s than it was now.
Holy cow!
It was just.
So you can say that you helped fund it. Did you give him quarters?
Oh yeah,
there you go. You helped his career. You started it.
That was part of the getting the pizza and the Coke, was you had to throw a quarter at the Bobby's hat.
Yeah, right.
The Bobby fund.
So how many did the people shopping at Limbo's, did they know that these were off of cadavers?
I think a lot. It was from wherever, but a lot of it was from unclaimed bodies at the city morgue. I had to go somewhere.
Holy cow.
So, but the name Limbo was very interesting.
Yeah. Oh my God. Good stuff.
Yes to New York.